Hi, everybody. Good morning. You've caught me, Liz Gale, Liz Gale Gale, and Aaron. Growing up in Scientology is what the most popular YouTube channel about ex-Scientology stuff. I think you're the top creator in YouTube right now. I watch you all the time.
I'll take your word for it.
I don't know if that's a little stalkery, but I'm like, I was watching you and Reese last night when I was making dinner and going over those phone calls, having recorded Scientology operative phone calls. Fascinating.
It is amazing. Oh, someone's trying to call me. I forgot to put myself in Do Not Disturb. It is amazing to be able to show everyone in the regular world just how Scientologists think and act and talk, like a real example instead of just someone telling a story. Like hearing it from their words coming out of their very own mouths. It's incredible. Like when Reese was like said, "Oh, I'm sure you're gonna have to disconnect from me because of the disconnection policy." And Kathy was like, "Oh, I would disconnect from you even if there was no policy." And you're like, "What? Oh, but I love you. I love you so much. I would never want to do that, but I will." It's like, what?
That was the same lines I got from my family. Truly and utterly. It was like they called me a bigot and said that I was attacking their religion, so they would just disconnect from me anyway, regardless, because I was a total a-hole.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, let me tell the folks tuning on my channel. Liz is so close to breaking the 4,000 hour watch mark, which is a big mark for YouTube and their monetization policies. So if you're watching on my channel, open up a second browser window, jump over to Liz's channel. Please watch on hers because I think she can get over that mark today, and that would be really awesome.
That would be awesome. Yeah, and for anybody who doesn't know me, hey, I'm Liz Gale. I was raised a third-generation Scientologist, and I got out, and I have just written a book, which Amazon is currently reviewing, and that's a whole nother thing. Confessions of an Ex-Scientologist Pothead. So there you go. That's me. That's me in a nutshell. But we can dive in and learn more about us today. I want to start with our quiz. I want to dive right in.
Yes, I love these. Tell me, why'd you put these quizzes together?
Well, I like quizzes for one. There's actually a quiz in the back of my book about cults and about cults of the world. And I am an early childhood educator, which means that my background in education is young children. And I don't know, I wanted to talk to you about this sometime, Aaron, but the golden standard for early childhood education is that young children learn through play. Right? So a very different concept than Scientology, but that's the golden standard in the scientific field. So I like learning through play too. So I just like quizzes and trivia. I watch Jeopardy every night.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, when I was little, me and my brother, we had this computer, this little handheld computer that would teach you to type by playing games. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing that comes to mind because I'm a very, very fast typist and have been since I was a kid because of that game. We were addicted to that game.
Right. Yeah, it is a great way to learn. I was looking through the quiz this morning. I can't promise that you're going to learn a ton because you already know this SPTV community has astounded me with their knowledge. I thought I'd be stumping people, and they got so many of them right. So I've had to up my game, but we'll see about this one. We'll see.
So this is a Scientology Scandals quiz, right?
Yes. This is about Scientology Scandals, and believe me, it's like 15 questions long. There's so many Scientology scandals. They're not all represented in here.
Right. Yeah. For my thumbnail I Google searched Scientology Scandals and tried to see what kind of image would come up. And it came up with Tom Cruise, John Travolta, and Kirstie Alley. But I'm not sure if that has anything to do with any of the quiz questions, but we'll see.
We'll find out. And
Tom Cruise has got to be in there somewhere, but we'll see.
Maybe. He's such an obvious answer. I had him in a couple of the early ones where, I don't know. We'll see.
All right.
Here we go. Scientology Scandals quiz. Now, there is a point system here. You will be judged thoroughly for your knowledge. No, you won't. But there is. So I have a little paper here where I'll keep track.
All righty.
For you. Here we go. Oh, there are also there's a couple of bonus answers, bonus questions. You're going to get 2 points for those.
All right.
All right. We're going to start easy. We're going easy. Which blockbuster HBO documentary delved deep into Scientology's histories and controversies? Is it A, The Xenu Story, B, The Clear Path, C, Inside Controversy, or D, Going Clear?
D is my final answer.
There you go, sir. See, we're going to start easy. Nobody panic. This isn't a pop quiz. You are absolutely right, sir. Now, question. Did you read the book at all before you read the documentary? That thing was beefy. I can't say I read the whole thing.
Yeah, I did not.
But there was a book before that from Lawrence Wright.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Question number 2. What self-made millionaire is subject of a 2023 class action lawsuit being accused of misleading investors? Is it A, Matt Feshbach, B, Reed Slatkin, C, Grant Cardone, or it's covered up here, D, Stephen Fishman?
I'm going with C, Grant Cardone.
There you go. Stellar. Everybody got it in the chat too. Beautiful, my friends. Fun fact for me that I literally just found out, he's a twin.
Yeah, you didn't know. So many people don't know that he has not only a twin, an identical twin.
So looking back on my perception of him, I have no idea who I was watching. I have conglomerated 2 individuals into one person in my mind.
So one of them was primarily California based, and the other one has been primarily Florida based. Even though Grant Cardone, publicly, he lives in, I don't know, either Miami or Malibu. Grant was mostly California based, whereas Gary was Florida based. And fun fact, actually, bonus item.
Yes.
Gary Cardone used to be the one who was wealthier and had more notoriety and was better well known than Grant. And so what happened is Gary had been a flag public for a long time. And when Grant showed up, basically people started calling Gary Grant, and that pissed Gary off a lot. And Gary basically got Grant sent back to California to be an AOLA public. He's like, flag is my home. Get out of here. There's not this place isn't big enough for the 2 of us. So
that's a very niche identical twin move.
Yes, exactly. Now, what's incredible is that due to all the steroids that Grant has been taking over the years, they do not look identical anymore. But you can pretty easily tell them apart now. Gary looks much older, well, it looks like someone who's not on steroids. So,
well, there you go. That's pretty easy to spot. It's funny how that happens with identical twins. The later your lifestyle choices, tattoos, different things makes a difference. Yeah. Fascinating. So wait, then. Do they both have lawsuits? Because who's got the keto lawsuit? That's the brother.
Correct. Right? That's Gary.
Gary. So they both have significant fraudulent lawsuits.
That's right. The difference is that Gary right now is being sued under RICO statutes, and Grant is being sued under FTC, like for FTC violations. Actually, now that I think about it, Gary's being sued by the FTC as well. So Gary's being sued by the government under RICO statutes, and Grant is being sued by his investors for various promotional violations. So, but so that's
it's kind of cute, isn't it?
It's adorable.
It's like identical twins with their like matching lawsuits and stuff. I mean, good for them. Good for them. All right. You definitely nailed this one. There he is. Now, I don't know who this is. Look.
That's a young Grant. That's a young Grant.
Fantastic. You can tell them apart. You got that twin. Whoa, don't look, everybody. I just covered my screen as if you guys were in the room with me. That's not helpful. I just probably blew it. I keep referring people back to this word. Pothead. Just cut me some slack, friends. Cut me some slack. All right. Now they all know the answers. That's fine, but we'll see. Osa knows because I leaked it here and they screenshotted it already. True or false? L. Ron Hubbard was accused of bigamy.
That is absolutely true.
And when did you learn this? Did you learn this while you were in Scientology or after you were out?
No, I only learned this when I read Barefaced Messiah by Russell
Yeah.
Miller.
Mm-hmm.
That not only was he accused of bigamy, he was guilty of bigamy. He married his second wife, the second wife he never had. He married the second wife while still married to the first wife.
Yes, they overlapped by like a year. You're right. And he was married 3 times. I'm just going to go through this one here. I'm giving you these points real quick because I know I blew it and showed you. He was. And, you know, if you look at the court records, each one of those wives, when they divorced him, accused him of terrifying things. He kidnapped one of their babies, took it to Cuba, refused to give the baby back until she like gave him that was Sarah. His first one that he had bigamy with, she said he like kept her up all night and then he abandoned her. Yeah. Hot mess.
Yeah, LRH must not have done the how to maintain a successful marriage course. Otherwise, he never could have had those problems.
Yeah, rules for rules for thee, but not for me.
Exactly.
I don't know, Aaron. I still think that L. Ron Hubbard might be source and we should follow him in every single thing that he does, down to baby formula and how to clean a window and every single thing. That sounds perfectly logical to me.
Yeah. It turns out the window cleaning advice might have been the best advice he ever gave. People swear by that.
No. I'm so sorry, but I have to disagree strongly. It is so much easier to use proper window cleaner. Nothing beats like a real Windex and vinegar. That's what it is, right? Is it water or vinegar with newspaper?
Just water. Water.
Yeah. Yeah. As the public executive secretary in a very small organization, like uncleaning, a lot of those front windows were ultimately my responsibility. So no. No, L. Ron Hubbard. I'll wash those windows however I want to and with the squeegee. Take that.
There you go.
All right. Whew, I got to calm down because as a stay-at-home for many years, I'm really passionate about my window cleaning. Okay. What was the name of the operation that infiltrated the United States government in the 1970s and sent 11 Scientology executives to prison? Was it Operation Tiny Man Dave, Operation Snow White, Safe Pointing, or Clear the Planet?
I'm going to go with B, Operation Snow White.
I really wanted you to pick A, just so you know. I'm really disappointed in you. Nope.
I'm still waiting for the reboot, though. The reboot of Operation Snow White. You know, Disney's coming out with a new one. Scientology should as well.
Oh, what a fantastic. Yeah, that got my mind going in a real artistic sense. I went real deep, real fast with that thought. An entire Broadway production just went into my mind.
They could call it Operation Snow Not So White.
Not so white. Oh, yeah. Dirty snow.
Oh, no.
Yes, you are correct. Now, here's another one. Did you know about this when you were in Scientology? Did you know that L. Ron Hubbard's own wife, I can read this. Operation Snow White was a criminal conspiracy by the Church of Scientology to purge unfavorable records about Scientology and its founder, L. Ron Hubbard. This project included a series of infiltrations into and thefts from 136 government agencies, foreign embassies, and consulates. This is crazy business. This was my family's era, right? Like my stepdad is old Guardian's office. Don't ask him about it. He won't tell you.
Have you ever tried asking him about it, or did you before?
Yeah, I did. I have asked him about it. I learned more about it before I had ever uttered anything negative or critical about Scientology. Once I had uttered anything negative or critical about Scientology, he didn't tell me after that. But he was on the early like Apollo. He told me a story once because I was like, wasn't that a crazy time? I hear people were overboarding and everybody was sleeping with everybody and it was so bonkers. What was going on? And he said, well, it was a little out of control. But I wrote a letter to L. Ron Hubbard and he like wrote back some rules and he put the ethics in on everybody. And then it was great.
Oh, wow. Your dad took credit for those reforms where people weren't allowed to, you know.
I suppose so, in a roundabout way. I didn't perceive it at the time. I perceived it as he like knew that they were off the rails because they weren't on policy. But yeah, that about sums it up. Well put. So when
Amazing.
people ask me, like, oh, are you attacked by OSA? I have a hard time answering that question, because when your family is OSA trained and like is OSA in their heart and soul, then it's a hard question to answer, because it's not like they attack you in the exactly same way. And they know you so stinking well.
Right. So, for some reason, when I was in the Sea Org in Los Angeles, when I was working at the Advanced Org, for some reason, there was a book in the library all about Operation Snow White. And that is how I learned about Operation Snow White. When I was on my cramming officer internship, and I, didn't want to do anything, I would just go to the call library and read shit and act like I was working on some sort of cramming or correction or enhancement. And I ended up reading this entire book by a private investigator who has worked for Scientology. He wrote this. Oh, the book is called Dirty Tricks. And it's all about Operation Snow White. And it was so fascinating. It was so electrifying. I couldn't figure out, one, why there would be a book written about it by someone who was friendly to Scientology, and why it would be in the freaking qual library at the Advanced Org. But that's where I found out all about it.
Fascinating. I'm going to try and find that book. I bet it's hard to find. I think the narrative would be something like, oh, well, the government was attacking us, so we just did what we had to do to protect ourselves. Right. Which I wonder if that was allowed. But yeah, you stupid people. Libraries saving lives and minds across America. Yeah, in relation to Snow White. Well done, by the way. I should acknowledge you. Should use those skills. How many covert agents did Scientology use to infiltrate? See, there's my typo. There's always a mistake in these. I would refer you again to the name of my book, but I won't be so crass. Scientology used to infiltrate the United States government in Operation Snow White. Was it A, 10, B, 100, C, 200, or D, 5,000?
Wow. I'm making a total guess at this one. It's either B or C. Since 11 of them went to prison. Oh, I feel like the government never would have been able to capture 10% of all the operatives, but 200. I want to say C, but I'm going to go with B.
I'm secretly glad that you got.
You're kidding.
Look, this is what I found on the internet, and I looked most of the time when there's an actual text on these. It's something I looked up, and I copied and pasted, or I put the facts in there because I didn't want to get them wrong. But yeah, so they said it was 5,000. Now I wonder who that's really counting. But you had 136 different government agencies alone.
Oh.
And then so you got to count the people. I mean, I would think they're counting an entire base, like entire Scientology groups, like all of OSA. But yeah, that's a lot of people.
That is a huge number.
I know. And please fact check me in this. I find it fascinating and almost incredibly hard to believe as well, because of how low Scientology's numbers are now. Like, they don't even have 5,000 people on a Facebook page, let alone an entire government, conspiracy cahoots.
Yeah.
So,
that's all right. We'll go with that answer, though. I mean, for it to be the largest ever infiltration, it would make sense that it would have to be more than 100 or 200.
Yeah, and I didn't look up again like what they're classifying as actually like associated with, but if I know anything about how it would work, especially back in the 70s, you physically have to have somebody working. Like, for every agency, you'd have at least 2 to 3 to 4 people associated with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Everyone can fact check me. All right, here we go. Now, before I read this question, I just have to tell you, I'm fascinated more than cult leaders. I'm fascinated by their wives. I'm trying not to look at these comments, guys. I'm just going to tell you right now that I am a comment disaster today. That's what's happening. Aaron, you might be good to go because you have your actual crap together in life. I do not say such things about myself. Let's focus on Mary Sue, because how did she do in life? True or false, she died in prison in 1989.
No, that's false.
All right, you are correct, sir. And bonus question, one of my favorite facts of all Scientology, who'd she leave her home to? So she was like kept in a home in Hollywood Hills. And by the way, you asked me before you answer. I see you trying to answer. Hold on. You had asked me before about Suzette. Suzette did get to go visit her in the home, and they had a relationship.
Okay.
So just so you know, in her home, she did get to see her children sometimes. Who'd she leave it to, though?
I'm almost positive she left her home to her little dog.
You are correct, my friend. The wife of L. Ron Hubbard. Let's all just say it together. The wife, the widow of Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard, left her home to her dog. And I don't have it.
What an FU, right? To David Miscavige, actually, in my opinion.
Yeah. I find that Scientology has a strange connection with dogs in general, because I also heard that David Miscavige would have people salute his beagle, and call it sir.
Yes. Most Scientologists I know who are animal lovers believe that they can telepathically, they're like Dr. Doolittle, they can telepathically communicate with animals, and that dogs are thetans. My ex stepfather used to say that dogs are just thetans who are on vacation for this lifetime and want to be pampered and taken care of and just be lazy and do nothing. So former upstats, high producers who just wanted to take a lifetime off, and they became a dog. He would treat his dog better than he would treat his wife. His wife after he remarried after my mom. And like he would tell his wife to get off the couch so the dog could get on the couch. It was pretty embarrassing.
I think this might actually be my new favorite thing. Truly. I would have loved, that actually might have kept me going. I am not being facetious right here. If someone had told me that as a child, like, hey, you can take a lifetime off as a dog, I actually might have had a little bit more hope for my spiritual future, because in my mind, I was going to go Sea Org, Sea Org, Sea Org, Sea Org, Sea Org, Sea Org. But if you could go like Sea Org, Sea Org, dog, Sea Org, that's doable.
Yes. And maybe that's what OT 9 and 10 is. It's picking out your next dog body.
Oh my gosh. That's a thing too, picking out your body. There's a character in my novel, and I only say that because I'm not going to tell you who really did this, but there's a character in my novel who's like a little girl, and she's cutting out magazine legs and like pasting them on, and a new head and hair, and it's like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm picking out my body in the next lifetime. I'm like, doing it.
Totally creepy.
Yeah, why not? Okay. See, I could talk about like Mary Sue Hubbard. I just love it's fascinating. Someone on TikTok made the theory that Shelley Miscavige ran off with Tom Cruise. And that's also a new hilarious favorite. I don't want to make light of the situation. It's just I got to blow off steam somehow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Which Scientology policy, you're going to know this, states that enemies may be deprived, injured, tricked, lied, or destroyed? Lied to or destroyed. Is it a knowledge report, the code of honor, fair game, or the code of a Scientologist?
I'm going with C, fair game.
Is that your final answer, Aaron?
That is my final answer. Let's lock it in.
Let's lock it in. Boom, boom, boom. Bonus question. I should have some sound effects. Scientology claims this policy was canceled in 1968. What are some signs today that this is not true?
All of the websites they created for every single person who appeared on Leah Remini's Scientology in the Aftermath show.
I agree. Let's see here, sir. You're right. It is fair game. And I have the quote there, and I'm not going to read it because that type of thinking is just not going to I don't have room for it in my mouth. That's what I said. Some answers: disconnection policy, attacking critics, like you said, sending PIs. They still do this. Smear campaigns, hate websites, and family and friends hate videos. Do you know one other organization that does this? PETA? Does PETA? Not quite.
Well, no, because PETA going after its own former members. It's going after another, an industry.
Right, an industry. Yep, I suppose so. So
I
yeah,
mean, really, the only other organization that comes to mind is the mafia.
yes, that's right. We can't overlook the mafia. That's true. That is the only other organization I think that behaves in such a way. And maybe the group of boys on Lord of the Flies on the island are like stuck. They act a little bit like that too.
I never saw that movie.
I it's scary. It's terrifying. That's all I'll say about it. Okay. Question. True or false? Did L. Ron Hubbard die surrounded by family and friends?
That is false.
All right. You are correct. What's the bonus question is where was he when he died?
He died in a Bluebird motorhome on his property in Creston, California.
Nice work, sir. You're right. And he died. I didn't know this either. Did you know this? Did you know that how his end went? Because I was told this story of like, L. Ron Hubbard dropped his body and moved on to Target 2 and everything's fine. He did this on purpose. This was the plan all along. When did that narrative change for you? When were you like, oh?
Oh, I mean, it wouldn't have been until, when I read Barefaced Messiah. And I mean, the two main books I've read about L. Ron Hubbard's history is Barefaced Messiah and Ron the War Hero, written by Chris Owens.
Okay. Ron,
So
I've already done this.
And I don't think Ron the War Hero focused on his late life and death. But so probably Barefaced Messiah. And I'd heard some anecdotes about it prior to that. Like in one of the books Marty Rathbun wrote, this was mentioned. An anecdote was mentioned from Sarge, who's one of the guys that was with L. Ron Hubbard until his very end.
Yeah.
And so that's when I learned about like that L. Ron Hubbard had been in like a mentally deteriorated state. He'd become very paranoid. He'd become obsessed with getting rid of his body thetans, that he hadn't finished getting rid of his body thetans, even though he was supposed to be OT-15 or whatever. And so not only how he died, but prior to that, he had asked Sarge to build him a special high voltage version of the E-meter that would give him a strong enough voltage to blow all of the body thetans off of his body and then kill his body, because he had to be able to drop his body without having body thetans on him, and he couldn't figure out how to do it. So he literally asked Sarge to build him a machine that would help him kill his body and get rid of the body thetans at the same time. And what an incredible story, and a real sad story. And one of the main pieces of evidence that I use when I say L. Ron Hubbard most definitely believed his own bullshit. If there was any doubt that maybe he didn't believe it in the beginning, I don't know. I wasn't there, but he definitely believed it by the end of his life. And that's not how he died, but that's something that happened near the end of his life.
Gosh. It's not, I mean, yeah, it fits the bill that everything just went so downhill for him at the end. At one point, he really was thriving in his cult. And then at the end of his life, he fell apart. It reminds me very much of Jim Jones in Jonestown. Not that I think that Scientologists would end in the same way, but just sort of like they fled down to that base down in South America because of a bad newspaper article. And then at the end, he was like losing his mind and gathering them all together. And I don't know. I think of the thing, At the Whim of a Madman. That's the soundtrack in my head that lives rent free. At the Whim of a Madman. I think that's from Speed. All right. Next question. What item did Scientology allegedly send to a critic's workplace as a form of harassment? An electric scooter, a sex toy, a dead cat, or a broken mirror?
I'm going with option B. That's my final answer.
Yeah, and you would be right, sir. How scandalous that was. Let's see here. It was Marty Rathbun, which I can't even say anything else about him right now. I'm going to move on. And his wife, Mosey. Mosey? Is that what she went by? Mosey?
Yeah, Mosey was her nickname. Monique is her given name.
Yep. Isn't it funny that Monique the Scientology lawyer, and then this Monique would have been like fighting, like Monique versus Monique.
Exactly.
Yeah, so they did all these things, and they did send a particular offensive toy to her workplace, which how embarrassing, but also tacky Scientology. Not a good look.
It's crazy.
Not a good look. Whoever had that idea, I'm sure they're in the RPF because it's a bad idea. Don't do it. All right. Well played, sir. Well, good job not saying it also. What year was a lawsuit alleging human trafficking, forced child labor, and peonage filed against Scientology? Was it in 1993, 2022, 1953, or 1986?
Well, this, I believe, would be the lawsuit from Laura Baxter, Gawain Baxter, and Valeska Paris. So I'm going with B, 2022.
You should get bonus points. You are correct, sir. And I like to highlight this particular lawsuit in almost every single one of my quizzes because I think it's fantastic. And I know a little bit of what Valeska in particular went through to get this lawsuit in front of a judge and get it to be taken seriously. So she's a little personal hero of mine. Plus, she's tough. Anything else you want to say about this lawsuit, Aaron?
No, well, I mean, and so, this is one of the suits that was a judge ruled that the lawsuit could not move forward in the courts and it was going to be thrown into Scientology's internal quote unquote religious arbitration. But then they appealed. They asked the judge, hey, can we have permission to, even though the lawsuit's not over yet, can we appeal this particular decision since it could change the outcome of the entire proceeding? And the judge said, yes, you may appeal on this decision. And they appealed. And I believe we're still waiting to hear whether the appeals court will take this appeal. That's where it stands right now. And this could be a really, really big deal. Really big deal.
Yeah, it could. And I don't know. My perception is that everybody's rooting for this lawsuit. Yeah. Like I think there's a lot of power behind it because of what kind of precedent it could possibly set. So from what I understand, the judge gave them some sort of allowance to appeal sooner, to forego some other steps that could have added time and money and energy to the lawsuit, which is as favorable as a decision as they could have gotten in that moment.
That's right.
That's the problem I noticed with some lawsuits. I remember Claire saying like, oh, if they had gone after a different charge, they would have been more successful.
That's right.
It's tricky business.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of them either way. And I in my heart, feel like Valeska's not going to take a payout. I believe she'll take damages, but I'm hoping that they don't take a payout. Anyway, here we go. Just a few more questions, my friend. You're doing great. I'm going to tell myself that too. You're doing great, Liz. What horror did former Scientology executive Debbie Cook reveal in her 2012 testimony? Did she say that A, Scientology leader David Miscavige is physically abusive, B, that a prison camp exists for those who have displeased the leader, C, that over 100 executives have been subjected to abuse, or that D, humiliation is a form of manipulation used to control Scientology executives?
Oh, this is a trick question.
It's a trick question.
Because she revealed all of the above.
You're so good. You're right. All of the above. She really did. Now, I'm going to tell you just my funny little experience here. I happened to be on a road trip with my mom during that chunk of time when that one day she was in court. The one day Debbie Cook was like, maybe it was 2 days, but when she gave her testimony, I was in very close quarters with my mom the whole weekend and I was following it. And I told her I was following it because she had received Debbie Cook's letter before. And I kept kind of bringing it up to her like, wow, that's really messed up. Debbie Cook was a high-ranking executive of Scientology who believed in Scientology and thought management wasn't doing what they were supposed to do, did what she was supposed to do by following the rules, writing the reports. That didn't work. So she upped the level of ethics gradient. She went through all the Scientology thinking and she was penalized. And I tried to talk to my mom about this because my mom would have done the same thing Debbie Cook did, I think. So it didn't work. I didn't get her out of Scientology, but I was able to say Debbie Cook just said something about a place called The Hole, and I don't think that anybody believed her. I don't think my mom believed her, which is sad because she really looked up to Debbie Cook. They knew each other. So anyway,
I'm trying to remember whether Debbie Cook's testimony about The Hole was before, like, could that have been before Mike and Marty were publicly talking about that? I honestly cannot remember whether
Mike and Marty. Oh, I don't think so. She had never said anything. It was super brand new. I don't think anybody knew anything she was going to say, from what I understand. And she told the story about her finger. She talked about The Hole. And if I
no, but I
recall,
mean, had Mike and Marty already personally been talking about The Hole
I
before?
don't think so, but maybe.
Because
That's
I'm
a
trying to
good thing
remember.
to fact check.
Because didn't we hear, when did we first learn about the musical chairs incident? The Bohemian Rhapsody musical chairs incident. I'm trying to
Wait a
remember if that
minute.
was that going clear?
Maybe, or maybe it was a piece of this is a good question. I don't know.
In the
I'm not
live
going to come
chat.
up with the answer right now. You can you can look it up. I'm delving deep into my mind, into a rabbit hole. I've read 3 major books. I've read most of Going Clear and consumed the documentary A Piece of Blue Sky by John Atack and Madman or Messiah. And I don't know what pieces of information came from which ones. They've just assimilated
Right
into my mind. So yeah, I don't know. Good question. That was the first I'd heard of The Hole. I can tell you that. And I had been following Tony Ortega's blog in it. I think it was breaking news, but I could be wrong. It was breaking news to me. That's for sure. And if I recall correctly, there was also a story about musical chairs from back in the Mission takeover days, wasn't there? Or is
I
there
mean,
only
not
one?
that I know of.
Okay, I got to get my history right. Let's move on, because who knows? It is The Hole, which is such a sad. She said horrible things happened in The Hole. It's awful. Actually, I'm going to ask you one more question. Do you believe that a version of The Hole exists today?
It depends on what we mean by that. And here's what I mean. It's commonplace to put a Sea Org member who's in trouble or going through justice, to put them under watch. It is meaning that's kind of business as usual for someone to be put under watch. What's not usual is for an entire group of people to be isolated to a room and prevented from leaving. But this one of these things where it's like justice is very capricious in Scientology, and it's sort of at the whim of any executive's horrible temper.
It's at the whim of a madman.
Exactly. And so, we've heard from a lot of people who've left the Sea Org over the last 3 years that, like, they've gotten rid of assigning people to the RPF at this point, which honestly makes sense. You'd think someone like David Miscavige would probably be like, I'm not going to let I'm not going to let 1,000 Sea Org members spend 5 hours a day getting auditing and training. These people need to be put to work,
Yeah. Well, there's a value to physical work in the Scientology scripture and culture, that if you are in a bad place, that type of work is spiritually good for you. So they won't stop that practice.
True. Now, one of the reasons that the RPF was beneficial to Miscavige was because of all of the renovations work and woodworking that need to be done in the mill in order to make all the furniture for the ideal orgs. But it's like, but what's better, having RPFers working in the mill, or just posting all those RPFers in the mill so that they're there 12 hours a day instead of, supposed to do auditing 5 hours a day?
Right.
Yeah. So my point here is this. In many ways, the RPF is kind of a version of The Hole that has always existed.
Yeah.
The Hole obviously was different in many ways. And they've gotten rid of the RPF, but that's really for self-serving reasons. My short answer is, I don't think something that any of us, like, when we hear of The Hole and we hear about what happened, we have very specific ideas and
bars on windows, confined space, group.
Yeah. I don't think there's something like that, if only for the reason that it has created such horrible PR for Scientology and David Miscavige personally, that they wouldn't want someone escaping today to be able to go to the FBI and say, it's still happening.
Totally. Yeah, I believe so. It's probably like similar to the fair game where they can't cancel it and change it enough for the PR route, and then they find another way to manipulate and control their
Yeah.
followers. The thing is Scientology's like manipulation level is so high advanced, they don't actually need to use so much physical threat and violence. Like it's a mind game. They already got you.
And that's the thing. Like the purpose of the hole wasn't to actually keep those people from escaping. They weren't trying to escape. The purpose of the hole was to humiliate them and dominate them and
Yeah,
make them feel small and worthless.
right.
There's plenty of ways to do that without doing the hole.
Yeah. You already got that on lock, Scientology. You're doing fine in that regard. Thank you for your answer. Okay. In a 2023 lawsuit that alleges Scientology recruiters went after young, attractive minors to work in book sales, what was the nickname for these girls? Were they the hot hustlers, the selling sisters, the bridge babes, or the marvelous money makers?
Oh my God, these answers are great.
I know I should spice them up like this for all the questions.
I'm going with C, Bridge Babes.
Yeah, I talk about this one kind of a lot too. I guess I'm getting redundant, but see, you guys the audience won't even know. They're like bridge babes. After a couple of quizzes, they'll be using it at the grocery store. Did you hear about those? Yes. So I'm going to move actually onto the next slide here because I have pictures of the actual lawsuit. This makes me so happy because in this lawsuit with Jane Doe, which was, as we know, unsealed, you can see all the things that she's alleging here. I'm not going to read them all, but they're not nice. I'm pointing at the screen like you guys are in the room, but you're not. I wish you all were. Okay, right here. Boom, 50. It's common knowledge to members of Scientology that older members engage in illicit activities. I'm not going to say the word because it's gross. Minors. The practice is both endorsed and facilitated by the Scientology doctrine. And it goes on. This is the first lawsuit I have ever seen made such a bold and accurate claim like this. I am pleased to see this in writing. Have you seen this before?
I have not seen this before, actually.
This is the Gavin Potter lawsuit. This was just one of the clauses that was in there. And so I once was a younger girl. Surprise. And I was heavily, I don't want to get into it, but this is accurate. This is really, really accurate. And I've never seen a statement like this in a lawsuit. Obviously, this lawsuit hasn't been found, guilty. It's a civil suit, but we're talking about precedents. We're talking about lawsuits. So important.
Yeah.
So yeah, is that something new? Did you maybe learn one new thing?
Yeah, I didn't. I've not read the entire lawsuit. I did not know it said that in there.
Yeah, it's super gross. It's gross. And if you ever want to just talk about this sometime, so like I feel like I have to be careful what I say, but I will say this. When I was processing and I was writing not my pothead book, but my novel, it's about a woman in the 1950s whose husband is an icky kid lover who finds Scientology to save him. And I wrote that because I believe that's how my family kind of got in. And there's some generational stuff that has Scientology's hands all over it. So this is really something that I'm passionate about that everybody should know. Whew, soapboxed a lot. All right. Let's move on. Thanks everybody for bearing with me. As you can tell, that's a don't look sore topic. But here's Laura's. Former child worker Laura De Crescenzo, as I say it, sued and settled with the church over what claim? Embezzlement, fraud, forced. I don't want to say that either. I don't like these words. Termination of a pregnancy or theft.
The answer is C, forced termination of pregnancy.
It's a sad one.
Yeah.
You're right. And I bet you know more about this, honestly, in the big picture than I did. But just as a viewer over here, this was fascinating to me because they got Laura's PC folders entered into the lawsuit. So Scientology keeps actual physical, like manila folders with all your crap in it, and they can like pile up and pile up. And do they put them in the internet now, Aaron? I don't think they do.
Put what on the internet?
PC folders? Are they digitized now?
They are digitized, but they're not on the internet.
Good. Okay. Well, good. Thank goodness, because that was a lot of paper.
And this is a practice that Scientology says has stopped, but in fact has not.
Which one? The abortion part?
Coerced termination of pregnancies.
Yeah. Good work.
So we were contacted by a family in Columbus, Ohio,
I
whose,
remember that.
whose brother was a Sea Org member posted at the Columbus org.
Mhm,
I think he might be 21, his wife might be 24, or the other way around.
mhm.
And she got pregnant, and they said they wanted to keep the baby and route out of the Sea Org. And they were separated, and the wife was convinced that they managed to convince the wife that
Mhm.
while separated, the husband had changed his mind and wanted her to terminate the pregnancy, and then drove her to the clinic to terminate the pregnancy without the knowledge of the husband. And she was only doing it because she was
She
convinced that
thought
it's
he
what her
wanted
husband
that.
wanted, and that
Yeah,
was they lied to her about that.
yeah.
So absolutely, that Sea Org
Horrible.
member is Kendrew Kirkconnell.
Mhm.
And then Scientology shipped him across state lines from Ohio to California so that his family could not come and get him
Yeah,
when he wanted to leave.
yeah. And have you heard any updates about that?
Scientology in their style, once they got him to California and got him away from the org and got him away from his wife, they managed to convince him that staying was exactly what he wanted to do. And so now, not only is he separated from his family, but he's also separated from his wife. And this is
Another
what
family
Scientology
ruined,
does.
yeah, by Scientology. Another all the hope in the world, potential young family with, pregnancy. That's horrible. That's super horrible. And I can't understate enough as well. I had a good guy friend whose girlfriend terminated a pregnancy while he was at work one day, and they thought they were going to get married. And um, I just want to, yeah, the impact of that is there's so many ripple effects that go on. It's awful. It's awful. I wonder what they told him. I can imagine what they told him, but
Yeah.
sad. Okay. My goodness. Wah, wah. What country found Scientology guilty of fraud in 2009? Germany, Ireland, United States, or France?
This is a good one. Um, because I know the answer, but Germany, according to David Miscavige, is the first entirely suppressive country on
Yeah.
planet Earth.
Yeah.
So you'd think the answer would be Germany, but I believe the answer is D, France.
And my friend, you are correct. They were found guilty of fraud in 2009, but while looking this up, I actually found out that in 1978, LRH was also convicted of fraud in France. Even though he didn't stand trial, they convicted him in absentia, which is like he
Mhm.
wasn't there, but they were like, fuck you. Excuse my language. Screw you. And so, yeah, so France appears to have a long-standing dislike of Scientology.
They know
So
what's up.
yeah, I'm surprised they don't get more of a bad reputation, because I too was taught that not just Germany, but Germans were of a more suppressive line of people, which is funny because my husband is German. I mean, his lineage is German. So that one SP found another.
Where,
So
where like
lovely.
where did you get that tidbit from? Just like other Scientologists, like
Yeah, I think it was just a cultural thing. That's one thing I noticed in writing my memoir. Like, there's a difference of studying Scientology and also like kind of when you grow up around it. There were so many things that I like, where did I hear this? It's just like old timer Scientologists just running their mouth at me. So I cannot say that it is an actual opinion of the church. It was a cultural opinion that I perceived growing up in Scientologists, around all Scientologists.
a particularly suppressive line of Thetans are picking up bodies in Germany.
Yeah, yeah, and there's some sort of tie there to the GE, the like genetic entity of that
Mm.
line or whatever. I don't know what it was. It was downright racism, if you want to spell it out. Um, I don't think you can just be like, oh, those Germans. But like I said, my husband is now there's yeah, I've had a little bit of German in me. The old line. True or false? A Scientologist is responsible of the largest Ponzi scheme typo, in the U.S. history?
That is true. And
Well, no,
actually,
yeah.
so at that time, it would have been Reed Slatkin. There's another Scientologist currently being prosecuted by the federal government for running an even bigger Ponzi scheme, a 1.4 or $1.8 billion Ponzi scheme. That man's name is David Gentile. He's based out of Clearwater,
Mhm.
Florida and New York. But I believe this one would be referring to Reed Slatkin.
Yes, and Gentile, he's married to Dave. Is that the one married to David Miscavige's twin?
No, it's a total coincidence. They have nothing to do with each other.
Oh, goodness.
Uh-oh. Liz kicked herself out of her own live stream. That means I'm not the only one to have done this. I accidentally kick myself out of a live stream at least once a month. You have to
Wow. Give me a
Yes.
second, guys. Give me a second.
If you back us, are you using a trackpad like on a laptop?
I am.
Yeah, that's how I accidentally kick myself out of live streams.
Yeah, it's kind of easy to do. I'm not so technologically advanced. My kids call me a boomer all the time. I'm also spoiled because I do have a teenager, so usually the technical stuff, I'm like, "You do it." I've hit that stage of life, and I'm proud. All right, I'm keeping going. Fair game. I don't wanna go too far because there's, like, 2 questions left. Thanks for bearing with me. Here's your recap, everybody. Gavin Potter. Forced abortion. France. I hope I'm painting a clear picture of Scientology scandals. Okay, you're right. We are talking about Reed Slatkin. His was 593 million, which is going to be, it's like double what Gentili, is that what you called him?
Gentile?
Gentili. So you said that's over $1 billion. So he'll have put Reed Slatkin. What are the chances?
I
What
know.
are the chances that I've like that'd be the top 3 then? Because I think Ponzi is the one above Reed Slatkin. So you're talking, which is Ponzi scheme, named after Ponzi.
Sure. Now, of course, there's the really super famous one that was tons and tons of billions. What am I? Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff is,
Yes.
the biggest.
I should put it in like a handful, the top, the elite, the
Yeah.
guys that are all sitting around like, ha ha ha, we stole millions. um, yeah, I wonder if there's like a special top secret course that I just was never invited to. It was like How to Be a Fraud by L. Ron Hubbard. One last question. I got to give you points. How did Lisa McPherson die while under Scientology's care? Did she die from A, dehydration, B, drowning, C, stabbing, or D, a car wreck?
Oh. So the thing is, she was noted by the coroner's office to have been very dehydrated, but she did actually die of a pulmonary embolism.
You're
So
right.
I will go with A on this
You're right.
for of the 4 options.
That's good. I'm going to give you a bonus point there, Aaron, because you're
Woo-woo.
absolutely right. And I thought about that just as you were saying it. Because you don't, yeah, if something happens when you get dehydrated, like some part of your system breaks down or you have whatever fancy medical term you just said. But when she was
Pulmonary
noted
embolism.
as coming in, it seemed like she hadn't had water for a really long time, which is gross. And that, I thought it was like a blood clot. Is that a fancy name for a blood clot,
Yes.
what you said? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So this was in 1995, and my brother passed away within a few years of this when Scientology was really hot and heavy on the internet censorship and the legal fights and drama. So what did you hear about the Lisa McPherson trial and her when you were in Scientology?
Nothing.
Never, not a peep.
Not a peep.
Interesting. I heard about it. I lived in Clearwater at the time, and I think, I don't know, we just couldn't avoid it somehow. And my narrative, I was told, was, it was Lisa's fault. Like, she shouldn't have gone crazy. They tried to help her. She was so silly. She went to the psychiatrist and then she came to her senses, but she couldn't be saved. And that was a problem for me because I was like, I thought you could save everybody.
Yeah. And I do have a bit of trouble differentiating between what I knew then and what I learned later about back
Yeah.
then.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in a Scientology context, what happened would not have been extremely alarming. Like what I mean
Right.
is someone I remember, again, I'm going to say I remember knowing, but it's my memories on this are very shaky. Like just because I know it doesn't mean I know that I knew it back then. So
Got it.
had a minor car accident,
Mm-hmm.
had some sort of what a Scientologist would call a type 3 incident, had a psychotic break.
Mm-hmm.
The solution in Scientology for a psychotic break is the type 3 watch, the introspection rundown.
Mm-hmm.
And that the people, I mean, even in Scientology, we would have admitted that there's no qualifications to be one of the babysitters or caretakers on an introspection rundown. It's who can we spare? Who can we? There's no qualifications. There's no medical qualifications of any kind whatsoever. Auditors have no medical knowledge. Case supervisors have no medical knowledge. So she was essentially on this type 3 watch, and those who were responsible for watching her just had no way of knowing that what they were seeing in front of them was an indicator of severe medical distress, physical danger.
Right.
And by the time it was so obvious that you could, hit someone over the head with it, it was too late. So even if I was in Scientology and had all the information, I would have been like, geez, that's just kind of a perfect storm of shittiness. It's not, it wouldn't have been something when I was in that made me question anything. It would have been like, holy shit, that's a whole bunch of worst case scenarios all,
Right.
coming together.
All coming together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now the only changes that Scientology made in the wake of all that wasn't to, get rid of that practice. It was just, you're not allowed to do it on the base anymore. They ship people off to like the forest, these retreats in the forest and shit, and keep these people far away from anything tied to Scientology.
Yeah, you're right. If I don't plug my computer in, it's going to die. Hold on. There we go. Oh, don't look at my pants. I'm wearing sweatpants. I'm not putting pants on for anybody. Okay. Yeah, it's strange what we learn when we're in and what we're out, but she was a sad story, but easily justified on their end, which is so sad.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening in the chat. I'm gonna just move on. I'm so
What's
sorry.
happening in the chat? What?
Well, I didn't get Goldie added, and like who knows what people are saying about me on my channel.
If you just right click on or click on the 3 little buttons or right click or something. Wait, how do you make someone a moderator?
It's a whole thing. Believe me, it's not really. It's on it's on my YouTube. It'll be fine. I'll do it after.
Oh, right. It's on YouTube. Right.
I'm so learning on the go here.
If you jump over to the YouTube live chat, you could do it real quick.
All right. Well, here, will you take the wheel, my friend, for a moment?
Sure.
I'm just gonna turn. I don't know how to make.
No, don't leave the stream though. Don't leave the stream.
Okay, I'll just
open a new window. You can open a new window.
Okay. I have a weird concentration face, so I'm doing this. Nobody wants to see my concentration face. I seriously get made fun of. Sometimes my kid's like, "Why are you so mad?" And I'm like, "I'm not mad. I'm just writing a grocery list." Like, you look really mad.
Here, I'll talk to the chat real quick for a second. So guys, about 15 minutes after we started this live stream, I made public a video that's a combination of so yesterday on my channel, me and Reese played some audio recordings with Kathy Sullivan-Otto, a Scientology official. She was a delegate. What's the word when you select someone? Anyway, yesterday on a live stream, we did part 1 and part 2 because Reese's internet went out. And I combined part 1 and part 2 together, and I removed the break in the middle, and I published that on my channel as a standalone video about 45 minutes ago. Some people seem to be confused in the comment section whether it's just a repeat. It's a consolidation. And Reese and I this afternoon will be playing more of these recorded phone calls. So stay tuned for that.
They're fascinating. I am so invested in these phone calls. And the one that she had on yesterday, it could have been any Scientologist I know in my family talking. It was so healing in a weird way to have this brought to light, because when you try and explain it, you're like, no, they're saying nice things, but they're not being nice. Like everything they're saying is a veiled threat. But if you don't understand that, you're like, super helpful. Okay. Let's count you up, sir. Wowza. I don't even know. So I think you got more points than I even calculated were possible. Good job. Oh, it's because I gave you bonus points. Well done, sir. If you were doing this at home and you got 0 to 8 points, you are cult curious. You've just scratched the surface of Scientology shenanigans. Get ready for twists and turns as you embark upon this enlightening expedition into its saucy secrets. If you got 9 to 16, Aaron, you got 20. If you got 9 to 16 points, you're a scandal sage. Magnificent, you're wise to the world of Scientology scandals. Scientology's secrets are practically an open book to you. You've ascended the summit of scandalous knowledge, but one more plunge into the abyss remains. And you, my friend. I have 20 here, but oh, you did get one. You missed one. Applause, research renegade. Your grasp of Scientology's sensational sagas is astonishing. You've emerged from this quiz in triumph as a true scandal savant. Well done, sir.
Amazing.
I'll send you, this is so dorky, but I will send you a certificate. If you go on my website, rusticandresourceful.com, I'll put this quiz up soon. You can actually take some quizzes and it will send you a cute little certificate and you'll get entered to win a book promo box, which I'll talk about another time. So I am going to not do any comments, which is probably a horrible thing for me to do, but if you want to do any, there's a couple of starred ones.
Yeah, let me see. We have
I guess I could do a couple while you do yours. I didn't star anybody because I just don't have the mental brain capacity. I don't know how you do all this at once.
Yes, it is a challenge. A big guy from Florida. Did you hear about Tom Cruise's new movie filmed at Golden Air Productions where he's cooking dinner for David Miscavige? It's called Mission Impossible. That's amazing.
It's so dorky. I love it.
Jen Hack says, always remember how scared this cult is of SPs. It's amazing how many people watch my channel and actually do not yet know what SP stands for. I get comments. What is SP? What's SPTV? What's SPTV? SP is suppressive person. That's what Scientology calls someone who is bent on destroying all mankind.
All mankind. Like you're a bad.
Yeah. Or someone who talks to their mother without permission. One or the other.
Yeah. That's true. Okay. I've got a couple here.
Okay. Hold on. Okay.
That's me.
Is that you?
I think so. Because I don't know there. Go ahead. Sorry. My bad. Go ahead.
No, that's the one I clicked on.
Oh, okay. Do it again.
Have you kicked yourself out of multiple streams this week?
Oh, man. Well, no, but yesterday, I'm learning. Yesterday, I was on at the beginning with Apostate Alex, and there was an echo. So everything I was saying, I was hearing again. And I'm sure I made the most confused looking face. I should probably go in and edit that section out because
nobody cares.
I mean, nobody really gives it. Yeah. Who cares? Yeah. But yeah, thanks for noticing, Kathy. Thanks for noticing my failures this week, Kathy Ann. No, I'm just kidding. You can feel free to help me. Amy, Liz is smart as a whip. I just put this up here to prove to all of you that one person in this chat thinks I'm smart. So there. I am not actually a boomer, but it has become a cultural term to just call anybody who's technologically, what shall we call me? Delayed, struggling, behind. It's a term. It's offensive, but so are most of the things that teenagers say to me. So I have teenagers in my in my zone constantly around, and they're very nice, but every once in a while. Joker, I wonder how much money has been scammed if you add them all together. Reed Slatkin, Ponzi, and let's even throw the Cardones in there. Enough that we should all get our money back. Everyone should get their money back.
It's billions. It's many billions.
Yeah. Let's see. These are ridiculous comments, and that's why I guess that's my jam. What a weird question. What is happening? Yes.
You know what this one was referring to?
I think it was referring to the entire quiz, and it is going to be my new slogan. When you think of Liz, just think question with her quizzes, what is happening? And for the last one, Xenu, take the wheel.
I love it.
Yeah. All right, Aaron, thank you so much for being my guest. For everybody else, who, I had told him this morning who's wondering about my book, Amazon is currently reviewing my book. So as soon as I get the email that says it's live for sale, I will be putting on a sparkly shirt and I'll be right back here to shout it from the rooftops. And then you guys can all purchase the deep corners of my mind and all my secrets. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll do like a whole book club type series of videos once the thing's published. I can't wait.
Yeah, it'll be really fun. I think that I might have to go into hiding for a short period of time after it comes out.
Why?
Well, because it's terrifying. That's why, if you really want to know, Aaron, because I'm in limbo right now. Okay, so imagine that this whole crazy ride's a roller coaster. I'm on the part of the roller coaster right now where it's like clicking to the top and you're gonna descend, but you're just like going up and it's like gets real slow. And it's like click, click. I'm on one of those last rungs and I'm holding on for dear life, my friend.
I like
All
that
right.
analogy.
Yep. Okay, I'm gonna get us out of here. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for spending this hour this morning with us. See you later.